Okay, a trip down memory lane here, looking at the NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year and maybe a player or two to wager on this season. And I went back and looked, Pauly, at every winner all the way back to 2006. And I stopped there for a couple of reasons. Number one, the draft has changed a lot in the last 20 years. And the year before that, here's the example, all you need to know. In 2005, 3 running backs were drafted in the top 5. Ronnie Brown went second, Cedric Benson went fourth, Cadillac Williams went fifth. That doesn't happen anymore. So you're not going to be talking about this year we did have 2 in the top 12 taken, but it's gone. Those days are long gone in the NFL draft. Also, 2004 was the year that Ben Roethlisberger won the award, but this will tell you how different teams approach that position. Eli Manning was selected number 1 overall. He played in 9 games. Phillip Rivers, taken ahead of Ben Roethlisberger, sat for the first 2 years because they already had Drew Brees. And Roethlisberger came in because Tommy Maddox got hurt. And then he was undefeated as a starting quarterback. He went 13-0. But this will tell you all you need to know, again, about how it's changed over the years. At that position, in 1970, Dennis Shaw for the Buffalo Bills played quarterback. He won Offensive Rookie of the Year. The next quarterback to win was, in fact, Ben Roethlisberger in 2004 because quarterbacks never played. They would always sit.
Wow.
So since then, since my list goes back to 2006, at 17 years, 8 of them were quarterbacks. 12 were top 10 picks, 8 were top 5 picks, and 3 were non-first round picks taken in the second, third, and the fourth rounds. But overall, 8 quarterbacks, 5 running backs, and 4 wide receivers. It can go to pretty much any position here, but generally, again, top 10 certainly helps. First round overall usually is going to be the case. Last year, a lot of the stuff, though, is a big-time race down to the end, like last year. Garrett Wilson won it. He was taken 10th overall. He was the second receiver taken. So it's like, who did you take last year when you were betting to begin the year, right? Were you going to take Drake London, who was selected 8th overall? Did you take Olave, who was taken 1 pick behind Garrett Wilson, or Jameson Williams, who was taken 12th? Well, here's the beauty of this. More and more sports books will leave this up throughout the entire year.
Yes.
And it's not like, hey, it's week 1, all of a sudden, bets are off now. You can't bet the Offensive Rookie of the Year anymore.
Well, you mentioned this too, and we got several tweets on it yesterday. Now you really have to factor in East Coast bias. You thought it was ridiculous that Daboll won Coach of the Year. Okay, nice turnaround, but look at the teams they actually beat when it was all said and done. And then Wilson gets it as well, which I will say he's in store for a big year because he put up a lot of those numbers with Zach Wilson. And say what you want about Mike White, who's not that bad, but some of that came with Mike White too. But imagine if he had White the whole year, or if he's going to get a whole year of Rodgers, what his stats could be. But I think you have to factor that in as well. Now, this year's Wilson, could it be Addison or Flowers? Who knows? But you also have to think about your so many weapons with those teams and how many catches, receptions are they going to get as well. I do think the Robinson thing, we're really getting carried away. Plus 250. Well, he's going to get a lot of touches. There also were plenty of weapons. Number 1 on that team. Number 2 is Ritter going to get you the ball.
Yeah,
and what are you going to do on the ground? Because certainly Smith likes to run the ball, but how many carries is he going to have? How many touchdowns? Well, he'll just mention it too with Gibbs. Williams had, 18 touchdowns? Someone's got to get all those touchdowns now in Detroit.
Yeah, and there's no more DeAndre Swift.
That too.
He went bye-bye.
Yeah.
There's no way I could bet I love Bijan Robinson. I could not bet him at plus 250.
Come on.
There's no way. It's way too short.
Yeah.
And then, if you're going to go wide receiver to begin the year, are you going to take a stand with, which receiver are you going to go with?
I know.
Addison's going to be, in theory, right? There's no more Adam Thielen.
How much is going around, though, right? How many catches is he going to get?
Sure.
What wins it? What are the good? Maybe the same thing in Seattle. JSN should have a big year. But then I have to count on Geno Smith, and then they throw a lot to Metcalf, too. Maybe for that standpoint, you want to look at quarterbacks because they're going to come in and play right away, and they seemingly put up numbers. And I know Bryce Young was a favorite prop for a lot of people in our guide, which drops today. So
that's why, you can't, the quarterback position in more recent years is something that you absolutely have to look at. In recent years, I've looked at rookie quarterbacks who were drafted somewhat high in a spot behind an injury-prone quarterback who actually might get dinged up. Remember, we were on the air a couple years ago when I made the case for Mac Jones at 10-1 to be Rookie of the Year.
Yep.
Within a half an hour, I believe, when we were off the air, it was named Cam Newton's going to get, what happened with him? He was released or he was benched. It was going to be Mac Jones as a starting quarterback. And he was going to win that award until Jamar Chase went crazy in the final couple of weeks of the season, and he stole the award. I don't know if there's a great angle with that this year, but Chase did come from behind to win it that season. He was taken 5th overall. Think about the players he beat out that year. And remember, he was as high as 20-1 here at Circa in the preseason because he had the yips and he couldn't hang on to the football. But Lawrence went first that year. Zach Wilson went number 2. Trey Lance went number 3. Pitts went 4th. Waddle 6th. Devontae Smith 10th. Justin Fields 10th. There was a ton of skilled guys who were the top 15 picks that year that you can make a case for. In 2020, Herbert was taken 6th overall. That was another thing that happened. We were on the air, and he came in for Tyrod Taylor because they screwed that up with him on the bench. They injected him with like a painkiller. It went into his lungs, and it's like, oh my God, this sounds horrible. And 20 minutes before the game, Herbert found out he was going to start against the Chiefs. He nearly won the game. That Monday, we're like, well, if something's wrong with Tyrod Taylor, you have to bet Justin Herbert at 16-1. Lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. And Tyrod Taylor never played again for the Chargers. He won it. But that year, Burrow was in the mix until he got hurt. Tua was taken 5th, and it was loaded at wide receiver. Ruggs went 12th, Judy 15th, Lamb 17th, Jefferson 22nd. So it's difficult to make a big time case for, I think, one of these wide receivers.
Mm-hmm. I see that.
Right? Because you don't know which one's going to pop right away. Hell, remember, Christian Watson last year was 300-1 even after the Cowboys game when he scored 3 touchdowns. And he dropped all the way down to 5-1 because the Packers he was a scoring machine. And it looked like the Packers were doing everything they could to get him more touchdowns down the stretch and win the award. So Murray won it in 2019. He was the first overall pick. I will remind you that was, again, down to the wire with Josh Jacobs, who was taken 24th by the Raiders, and people hated that pick, and nobody wanted to bet him. And also A.J. Brown came on. I thought A.J. Brown deserved it that year. He was taken 51st overall. Tennessee wide receiver. Barkley won it in 2018, 2nd overall pick. Alvin Kamara, think about this back-to-back years. Alvin Kamara won it, and he was taken in the 3rd round. The 2017 draft was loaded to the gills. Among the picks, Leonard Fournette, 4th overall. Christian McCaffrey, 8th. Mahomes went 10th. Watson, 12th. Delvin Cook, 41st. Mixon, 48th. Cooper Kupp, 69th. And Kamara took it down. And the year before that, Dak Prescott was taken in the 4th round, pick number 135.
This is the left field one.
Yeah, and he was the 8th quarterback taken that year.
Right.
And he won it. That doesn't happen very often.
And then I remember that year, it's like, well, it's the preseason, so who cares? But he was lighting it up.
Oh, he was
putting up ridiculous numbers. So then it came to, well, put him in there. And then the year that he had, well, imagine what that ticket paid. You're right. So the Kamara thing, I know 3rd round, but the one here that going back since 2006, the one that sticks out, maybe the fluke that unlikely to happen is Dak. But it's hard when you look at this. If you ask me, I have to go Bryce Young at 5-1. I don't want Robinson because what wide receiver is it going to be? How many touches are you going to get? There's a lot of great candidates, though, in a good list. I don't know about Richardson with snaps and what's he going to look like through the air, not to mention about the offensive line and a new coach. But at least I can trust Frank Reich, and all the reports are glowing about Young so far in Carolina.
Yep. So here's how I think I'm going to approach it this year. I'm going to take Bryce Young at 5-1. He's going to be my pick. He's going to be the opening day starter, so it's going to be his job. And I will remind you again, since 2006, in 17 years, 12 offensive rookies of the year were top 10 picks. So majority come in that range. 8 were top 5 picks. Only 3 were non-first-round picks. 8 of them were quarterbacks. But also, you need to follow this stuff, and you all do anyway. It's the NFL. The beauty of betting this is finding guys throughout the season. It's like betting a game live. Bet this stuff live throughout the year. And another takeaway, do not waste I cannot urge you enough here. Do not waste your money betting a tight end. Don't do it. A tight end has never won the award. And I don't think tight end rookies never really pop.
Visit VSiN.com to get current odds, listen for free, find showtimes, and download VSiN sports betting podcasts.